My name is Andreas Gysin, and I'm principally a graphic designer, and but I also work a lot with technology, and I live in Lugano, the Italian part of Switzerland. I didn't choose to learn code. I started coding or programming or playing with computers, let's say in the 80s, when an uncle, a rich uncle, came to Christmas and he brought me a keyboard, just a keyboard of a computer. And I looked at it and I didn't know what to do. And then I discovered that with the keyboard also came a computer, and this computer was an IBM. I think it was very expensive for the time, but it was also this sort of computer that when you turn it on, there stays a black screen and a blinking cursor, and that was it. So to use the computer, you had to learn to use the computer. Come on, little cat. You like coding, right? Or maybe not. And yeah, so that's how I started, and then I never stopped. I work with technology and with software since very, very long. And so I was kind of expecting something like this to happen, to have the ability to be able to sell something or something which is completely immaterial, like a piece of software or a program, to a certain audience or to collectors. So I was ready for it when it happened. That's more or less the point. In the physical works I do with my friend and partner CD, we don't really have a style. We work on the physical part first and on the constraint this kind of approach has. And when I entered the NFT space, or let's say the crypto art space, where the constraint was more or less a screen, at least for the things I'm doing and I'm interested in, I gave myself a sort of a limit. I would only work or closely work with text. So I needed a sort of a constraint to delimit the space. That was the idea of the style, if you want. I made several exceptions around this, and I don't really follow a particular style. I just try to explore until there is some material to explore, which I think I'm slowly exhausting. So I think I'm towards the end, if you want, of this particular style I'm working on with, which is text. There are too many to quote, too many to cite, and from the art world, there are too many. I'm a graphic designer, so the whole history of graphic design, especially the European or the Swiss one, is a great influence for my work. On the technical side, I owe a lot to many, many great people that teach you things on the internet, that share their code, and that also make it available. So there are really too many to thank for what I am right now. But I guess that's the story for everyone. No? We owe everything to what was before us. The practice I have with, especially with CD, so this is a duo work, is to analyze as a piece of hardware or even a physical object, which has some ties in design or maybe in communication, or which has an utility object, so an object which has a certain purpose in a certain domain. And so we start the work by analyzing the properties, the visual properties, but also the physical or the kinetic properties of these objects. And then we put our work on top of this. And mostly the idea is not to modify this object too much, just to give a minimal input to make a slight change to this object, and but also to reinvent it in this way. So an example is, for example, electromechanical signage systems, which you would find on old transport, public transport, for example, a bus. They had these physical displays, and these displays are very peculiar. They have an ultra low resolution, so they have a few pixels or mechanical pixels if you want, but they also have a great visibility. They are made, it's an object which is made to be seen even from distance, even in the night. And so we try to harvest these properties and to reinvent or to give it a slightly different purpose. So that's how we relate with the physical object. So the physical object is most of the time is really the starting point. And then on top of it, we add a slightly more conceptual layer, but the physical part is the start. It's not the end of our project. I collect several works, and this was a game we started to play. The artists which got in touch on the beginning of all this, we would collect each other works. And so yeah, I have a huge collection. Sometimes it's really something I want to I collect because I like it a lot. I like the idea. I like the artist. And sometimes it's also to show support to somebody else. So that's a really important part, to validate the work of a fellow artist. Okay, I think we are good here. And yeah, that's it. I don't have any ideas. I don't know what's in front of me. I just look what I'm not so active. I just look what happens. Thank you, Cook. Also, Carla, for the patience. I know I've been not so good, but they were really good with me.